Hi guys, it's Kira and Jessie from Plaid, and we are here tonight with Let's Paint Live, where we're going to be teaching you how to paint a painting in just about an hour. Tonight we're painting Sunset Cactus, so we're getting ready for fall. These are some really beautiful warm colors. And if you aren't familiar with our Let's Paint program, there is a plethora of education, online videos, tutorials at plaidonline.com/Let's Paint, where you can find paintings by Andy Jones, who teaches you through his lunch and learns, his skill builders. If you've never painted before, he'll teach you all the basics all the way through a beautiful studio painting. We also have paintings by Donna Dewberry. We have a whole Flower of the Month program. And again, this is all free online education. And we have these amazing kits that we've put together as part of our Let's Paint Live program. So you can get all that information on plaidonline.com/Let's Paint. And tonight we are painting live. So we get together every month, and in about just an hour, we teach you how to paint a painting. So we are doing Sunset Cactus. So Jessie's going to walk you through this, and we'll check back with you while we're painting. We love to see comments and where you're painting from. If you have a question, we'll try to answer it live. If not, after. The video will be live on Facebook, and then tomorrow it'll be live on our YouTube channel. So you can always watch this on demand when you have time. So say you want to make some time for yourself, make some me time. This month we're talking all about art therapy and relaxation and what you do to be creative for yourself. So this is a great way to take time and unwind. So again, you can watch this if you're not able to paint along with us live tonight. You can watch it on Facebook right after the live, or you can watch on our YouTube channel. So, and also one more thing, lots of things to tell everybody tonight, that in the link below the live, you can find all the product that we're going to be using. So we make it super simple for you to click on it and get all the paints and the surface and brushes that you'll need for this painting. So we're going to get started, and we'll check back as Jessie gets going.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you what supplies we're going to be using tonight. I have a 12 by 12 wood canvas. The paints we're going to be using are folk art paints. We have Wicker White, Marina Mist, Eggplant, Fire Coral, Hauser Green Light, Classic Green, and Thicket. So those are the colors I'm using tonight. I do have 2 packs of brushes. I have the flat set, and then I also have the round set, so we'll be using both of those tonight. I've got my palette paper, my paper towels, and my water. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our small round brush. I have the number 2 round brush. And I'm going to be putting some of the Hauser Green Light onto my palette. Just a little bit, we don't need a lot right now. So what we're going to be doing for this, we're going to start by drawing the outline of our cactus. So this sort of irregular outline, this is called a prickly pear, and they're super irregular, which makes it really to paint because kind of the more squiggly and organic, the better. So if you have a pencil at home, feel free to draw your cactus shape with the pencil, but I'm going to show you how, if you don't have a pencil on hand, how you can just start straight with the paint. So I'm going to dip into my water basin here, and I'm going to put some water onto my palette paper. So see how I'm kind of watering that down? I'm just going to water it down a little bit until I have sort of an inky consistency. And we're going to use this, now we're just going to use our paintbrush as if it were a pen, and we're going to draw those shapes. It's going to be really simple. And this is going to make it much easier to paint on top of. And again, we're using the number 2 round brush. I think it's the smallest in that pack. Okay, so just to give you kind of an idea of where the cactuses should be, we're going to start by finding the center of the bottom of our canvas, and I'm just going to make one mark. This is going to be really easy to paint over, so don't worry about making marks in weird places or anything. I'm going to go about an inch to the left, does not need to be perfect, and about an inch to the right. And that's going to be the base of our center cactus. Now I'm going to find the center at the top, and I'm going to go down about 1/3.
Jessie, we're going to pause you so
sure.
everybody can see the top and the bottom.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so I have a point right here that I just made a little mark in the center, and then about an inch to the left and about an inch to the right. Just a little dot just so I can see it, just so I know where the center is. And that's going to be where the base of our middle cactus is, our largest cactus. Now I'm going to find the center top, and I'm going to go down about 1/3, maybe about here. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to make a dot so I know that's going to be where the top of that cactus shape is going to be. So you can see right now we're kind of making this shape here. So now we have an idea of where to start and stop that shape. So we're going to start, we want to make sure for the prickly pear, it's always narrow in the bottom and then it gets wider at the top. So just keep that in mind as we're drawing. And don't forget, this is going to be really easy to paint over. So just be really loose with it. Don't be nervous because it can be fixed totally. It's not going to ruin the painting whatsoever. So start at the bottom and see how I'm holding my brush. I'm holding it really gently. And I'm just going to kind of let it go. And I'm going to go up. And don't forget, we're getting wider towards the top. And we're going to stop there, and then we're going to come back down. And see how I've got it super irregular? I like that because that's the way that a prickly pear cactus would look. And then we're going to go back in at the bottom. So you should have a shape looking about like this. And so if you wanted to go back now and you wanted to correct it, say you didn't like the way it looks and so you wanted to go back and make it a little wider there, or you wanted to you think it needs to be a little skinnier at the bottom, you can totally do that. And then you just remember where the lines are that you liked. You could even make them a little darker. So when we go and paint over it, this is going to dry so fast because it's got so much water, it'll be super easy to paint over. So it's kind of a way of like sketching with your paintbrush. This is the way I like to draw out most of my paintings when they need some sort of drawing involved. Okay, so I'm going to keep my paint pretty inky. We're going to keep drawing. So I've got a little bit of a shape coming up the top right, so I'm going to draw that now. So I'm just going to kind of freehand it. I'm going to start at the top right of my shape. And I'm just going to go up, and don't forget, it's sort of a light bulb shape. We want it to be narrow at the bottom and wider at the top. That's the way these cactuses are. And again, if it gets kind of wiggly, I think that looks even better because that's the way they are in nature. And then we've got a little guy coming out, and you don't need to follow my shape exactly. If you want to kind of draw your own prickly pear, that is totally fine because obviously they wouldn't all be the same anyway. So you're welcome to follow my shapes, or you're welcome to kind of make your own shapes. They just, make sure they get larger at the bottom and smaller at the top. I'm going to draw in kind of the top of a little piece here just to sort of balance my composition so that I have shapes on either side. And then I'm going to do another small one here in this area. And don't forget, we're starting narrow at the bottom, kind of mimicking this larger shape, just a small one here. So we're going to start narrow at the bottom. And I like to kind of hold my brush this way and pull up. That's easier for me, however it feels natural for you. I'm going to go big, and see I'm getting really squiggly, and that's kind of intentional. I like that. And then we're going to go down. This is the way that they look. And don't forget, you can easily fix this if you need to, just until you like the shapes that you have. But definitely don't overwork it because it definitely doesn't need to be perfect. I'm going to do one coming out sort of this way. So, and again, getting narrow at the base. And then I'm going to do a really small guy, narrow at the base, coming up this way. We're just sort of sketching out the shape of our prickly pear. And I'm going to do one kind of going off the canvas here too. I think that'll be cute. So yeah, this is where I'm going to leave it. You can see we've got the shape drawn in.
Let's show everybody what we're painting. So if everybody can see that, if I'm right on there. So this is Sunset Cactus. And Jessie just drew our outlines using the Hauser green. And so everybody can see as they get caught up. The shape's super simple also.
So simple, so easy to draw. This is a really good one if you're kind of intimidated about drawing out your composition and you don't like doing that, if you're like kind of scared of it. This is a good one to start with because it's really loose and kind of wiggly and it's easy to make it look good. So I'm going to go ahead and clean my small round brush. I'm going to dry it off. And I'm going to get some fire coral. This is one of my favorite folk art colors. We want a good bit of it. And then I'm also going to get some wicker white. And I want a good bit of that too. This is going to be, we're going to use this for our background. So don't forget, you can always add more though. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up my 1-inch flat brush. And I'm going to dip it in water. Get it a little bit wet because this is a new brush. Get it nice and soft. Okay, so for the background, we're going to do a really loose texture technique. Again, this is a technique that you really can't mess up. It's really fun. So here, I'll start and I'll show you. I'm going to pick up some fire coral. And we're just going to go around the shapes because this is going to be the background. You can see in the final painting, we're just going around the cactus right now. So I'm going to start by making sort of X patterns with my paintbrush. You can use the edge of your paintbrush and go around your shapes if you feel more comfortable doing that. So make sure you keep those shapes the way that we drew them, the way that you like it. I'm going to paint around it a little. But as I'm going, I want to work kind of quickly because I want it to stay wet. I'm going to pick up some white and I'm going to X that into it as well. And that gives you sort of a two-tone textured effect. And you can add as much white or as little as you'd like. So obviously if you add more white, you're going to get a much lighter pink. And if you add less white, then you'll get more of a brighter coral. But we're going to do this all along the background, following the shape of our prickly pear. Starting with the fire coral. And we don't want it to be too heavy. We want it, to be sort of a light coat so that it dries quickly. And we're going to be adding the white in. Makes almost sort of a stucco effect.
So if you are just tuning in, we are here with Let's Paint Live. Jessie is teaching us how to paint Sunset Cactus. And we're going to teach you to paint this painting in just about an hour. And if you're painting live, Jessie has walked us through the outline of the cactus and she's getting started on the background. If not, remember you can watch this on demand after the Facebook Live right here on Facebook, or it'll be up tomorrow on our Plaid's YouTube channel. So if you want to take some time for yourself, maybe this weekend, or get together with your friends, this is a great way to watch this Let's Paint Live and all our Let's Paint Lives on demand. And we want to see where and hear from where everybody is painting from or where you're watching from. And we want to see if you have any questions. We're happy to answer them live. So comment, let us know if you have any questions. If we're going too fast, too slow, if you have questions about the paint or the technique, we're happy to answer for you.
Absolutely.
And let us know where you're watching from and when you plan to paint or who you're painting with. We love to hear from you guys. So I'll let you get back to it. I didn't mean to interrupt as you work on the background, but we wanted to check in with everybody.
Okay, so let's get back into it. So like Kira said, we've drawn the outline of our prickly pear, and you can see it's already dry because we watered it down so much, the paint was so thin. And that's another thing I like about these wood canvases is that if you're trying to do a quick painting, the paint absorbs, the wood absorbs the moisture and the paint dries much faster than if you were doing it on a primed stretched canvas. That's why I really like these, especially for these fast paintings. So we've got fire coral on our palette and we've got wicker white, and I'm using my 1-inch flat brush. And we are going in sort of X motions in the background, just going around our prickly pear shape, just creating sort of a cool texture. It almost looks kind of like stucco, I think. But we're just going around our prickly pear, and this is going to make a really interesting background for our cactus.
So we have people tuning in. I just want to say hi, Sandy from Weatherford, Texas.
Hey.
We're actually going to be in Texas at the Pinners Convention next week. So Plaid will be there if you're in the area.
Yeah.
Hi, Cindy. Hi, Elaine. Hi. Who else? Kathy and Chantel. So hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Let us know if you're painting.
Yeah.
So we've got our fire coral and our wicker white. And I'm just carefully going around my cactus shape with my 1-inch flat brush. And I'm adding in white as I go to create a really cool textured effect. And a really good way to keep it consistent is to do this sort of X motion as you go. But again, you really can't mess up this technique. This is a really fun, loose technique for making a really interesting background if you're painting something. So just keep adding that in. And like I said, that's something that I really like about this canvas. This is the Plaid 12x12 wood canvas, is that when you're painting on top of it, because it's raw wood, it absorbs the moisture of the paint, and so it dries really quickly. So if that's something that you want your painting to dry as you go, like if you're going to finish this and then paint on top of it right away, this is a really great canvas for doing something like that because your paint dries even faster than it would on a regular canvas, even though acrylic paint dries pretty quickly anyway.
So Jessie, we have a question.
Sure.
is this something you could paint the background and then paint the cactus on top of, or do you want to paint around the cactus?
You absolutely could do that. The only thing is if you're going to paint the background first, you'd of course want to let it dry really well before you went on top with your green, because if you mix the green and the pink, it would get really muddy and make a brown.
Right.
But since we're doing it in an hour, we're going to paint around it, and that's the reason. So we can finish this within an hour.
Got it. So this is an easy, quick way to do it and
Exactly.
get that pretty texture.
It's kind of a cheat. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But you absolutely could do your background first. If you have a little more time at home, or if you're planning on painting this tomorrow and you're going to watch it on YouTube, or you can pause and take your time, yeah, absolutely. Paint your background first, then you can go ahead and kind of mix up the steps and paint your cactus on top.
Yep. And all these products are listed in the link below, so you can click on that and get your wood canvas, your brushes, and your paint.
Yep.
But you could also change up the colors, so say you wanted a blue or aqua background.
Totally, absolutely.
You could totally personalize this.
Yeah, and we're going to be painting some purple blooms on our cactus later, and you can paint any color
You
blooms.
can make them yellow, you can make them white.
Exactly. I just thought purple would be nice against the pink background,
Yeah,
but
so pretty.
any color that you want is perfectly fine, whatever paints you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're almost done with the background on our sunset cactus.
Yeah. So like I said, we're using fire coral. I'm actually going to grab some more of this folk art fire coral. So I ran out.
And if you guys are painting, when you're done with your painting, or if you're going to paint later when you're making some me time or getting together with your friends, don't forget to hashtag your painting, because we'd love to see what everybody paints. You can hashtag Plaid Crafts or hashtag Paint with Plaid. So we want to see what everybody's doing. We love it.
We love it when you share your paintings.
Yeah, we
with
actually
us.
highlight people's paintings on Fridays on our Instagram also.
Fan Friday.
Fan Friday. So we want to see your sunset cactuses.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're still finishing up the background. You can see here, remember when I said before when you kind of sketched your cactus shape in, and I went back and I corrected mine, so I remember that I liked this inner line better. So I'm going to cover this up, and you'll see how easy it is to cover up. See? Oops, I got paint on my hand. So it was really easy to paint over because that line was so light, and we added water to it. And so it dried really quickly. It was super easy to paint over. Just adding some white in here for texture.
So hi Denise, I'm just gonna call out while you're painting, kind of the voice while you're painting. So hi Denise, Justin, Marie, Kirsten,
Hey,
Cindy.
Kirsten.
So, we're on camera again. Hi everybody, thanks for watching and tuning in. We love to see that everybody is joining us, and hopefully you're painting along and relaxing and having a good time, or you're just taking a sneak peek and you're gonna paint later when you have some more time
Absolutely.
to paint and relax.
We'd love to see your paintings either way. Even if you do this a couple weeks from now, make sure you share it. We really want to see.
Yeah. And our Let's Paint Live, it's every month, so we hope you're able to join us. So it's typically the first Thursday of every month at 7:30, and we are here live teaching you to paint a different painting. We try to do fun seasonal stuff. We love to hear also what you would like us to paint.
Absolutely.
We want to see your suggestions. As you know, Jessie and the other artists are coming up with their paintings. We have a very special guest next month in October that we're going to preview our painting here at the end of Let's Paint Live
very
tonight.
special guest.
Yeah, so we have Priscilla Hauser is going to be in the house.
Yes.
So she's going to be painting a beautiful floral, and we will show everybody before this live stream's over, so you can mark your calendars and tune in for that.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
very
It's gonna
exciting.
Be a really fun one.
Yeah, you'll want to tune in. So I'll let you keep going.
Okay. So you can see I've finished the background of my painting. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to wash my flat brush in my water basin, or your cup of water, whatever it is. Like you maybe use Tupperware or something, whatever you clean your brushes in at home. Get all that paint off. Okay. So next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my medium-sized flat brush. This is a 3/4 inch flat brush. And I'm going to pick up this Hauser green light, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to fill in our cactus shape. So I just want a really thin layer of paint. We don't want to make it too thick because we're going to be painting right on top of it, so we want it to dry super quickly. Like I said, it will dry pretty quickly just because it's on wood, and so it'll absorb the moisture. But yeah, we don't want to glob the paint on. We want to have a nice, smooth layer of our Hauser green light using our 3/4 inch flat brush. And see how nicely this paint, it just has such great coverage, and it just paints so beautifully onto this raw wood. And I'm kind of going and cleaning up my edges as I go, making sure that they're nice and crisp, how I like them. We're just filling in our cactus shapes with the Hauser green light. And I really love this color too. This is a great color for summer and for cactus. I thought this was a fun painting for kind of wrapping up the summer and heading into fall. So we're just base coating our cactuses. Really thin coat of paint, just enough so that we have full coverage, because like I said, we're going to paint on top of it right away. So we definitely don't want too thick paint. So I'm going to add some more. This is our Hauser green light I'm still using. I'm just adding some more paint. And my 3/4 inch flat brush. So I'm just sort of cleaning up the edges as I go. You can see a lot of the background, especially if you started on the right side. My right side is already fairly dry, which is nice. It's a nice smooth layer. It's really easy to get nice full coverage. You don't need very much paint at all. That's what I love about these folk art acrylics. So if you were doing this and you felt more comfortable maybe using a smaller brush to get these edges, or you felt more comfortable using the wider flat brush, you can feel free to use those. I just feel like this is a pretty good one to use, the medium size. But if you want to use those will definitely work. I'm going to go in, I'm going to fill in all these smaller areas as well. I actually might switch to my smaller flat brush when I go to fill in the smaller areas of the cactus. And of course, the way we're painting this cactus tonight, it's not super realistic. It's just sort of fun and cartoony, really stylized. It's a really quick, easy painting, and I just thought it'd be fun for this month. So I'm going to leave that one. I'm going to come back with a smaller brush because I don't want to mess up that shape. So don't forget, we're using Hauser green light with our 3/4 inch flat brush.
Yeah, so Jessie, I was going to mention we are using folk art acrylic paint. So if you want to tell them a little bit about the paint, and maybe we can talk about the colors or.
Totally, yeah. Folk art acrylic is my absolute favorite paint to paint with. It's really smooth and thick and creamy. It's like sort of a heavy-bodied paint. It's got awesome coverage. They mix really well. This is the paint that I use for all of my paintings.
And so many beautiful colors.
So many. Folk art comes, I mean, there's not a single color you could think of that folk art doesn't have.
Right.
So you really don't even need to mix because there's so many colors to choose from. It's kind of hard to choose because there's so many.
Yep. And we're just using folk art acrylic paint tonight, but we've got multi-surface, we've got so many specialties, we've got glitters, dragonfly, color shifts.
Oh my gosh,
so many fun things that you can add to all your paintings with your regular folk art.
Yeah. So if you wanted to do something similar to this, but you were painting it on something other than a porous surface like wood or paper or canvas, something like that, you would want to use the multi-surface like you said, which also has tons of amazing colors, and it will really adhere to whatever surface that you're working on.
Yeah, and you could use multi-surface on this wood even, but we're just using regular folk art.
Yeah.
So super creamy, tons of colors, very blendable. You can mix your colors, but again, there is such a wide range of colors, and this palette that you've picked is beautiful already.
Yeah, I know, I love it. It's got a lot of my favorite colors in here.
Yeah, so you're just filling in the Hauser green, and I want to say hi to Rebecca, Diane,
Rebecca.
Kelly, Shayla's watching.
Hey, Shayla.
So we hope you all are painting along, or you're going to paint along with us at another time when you have a minute to relax and unwind. Grab your favorite beverage, get your paints out and your canvas. And don't forget to hashtag your painting that you paint, because we want to see it and like it with hashtag Plaid Crafts and hashtag Paint with Plaid.
We love to see your paintings.
Yeah, we do. And you make it so easy. In just about an hour, you're going to get a finished painting. So you are absolutely, if you have never picked up a paintbrush, you're going to be able to paint this.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
if you are an avid painter and you have done tons of painting and you have a skill, this is still so much fun. You're always going to learn something new, which that's what I love about our Let's Paint program. There's always some tip, trick, or skill that you're going to learn.
I agree, yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we got our cactus almost filled in there.
Yeah, almost. So you can see I've got all of the larger areas of my cactus filled in. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to pick up my smallest flat brush, which is the 1/2 inch flat, and I'm going to use this to fill in my smaller areas of the cactus. Has everybody almost got their cactuses filled in? Awesome. I don't know, is it cacti or cactuses? I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. Maybe it probably is cacti.
It's cacti.
Cacti, there
I
you
was
go.
saying cactuses earlier. That's typical me.
Kira threw me off.
That's all right. I'll just make up words. It's fine.
Kira's
They always
known
make
for
fun of me.
that.
It's fine. Kira words. It's fine.
Kira words. She's got her own dictionary.
Yes. Hi, Marcia from Kentucky.
Hey. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
All right, so I've got my shapes filled in with my smallest flat brush. This is the 1/2 inch flat brush, and we're still using the Hauser green light, I should say. Make sure I like my edges.
I'm just watching you paint.
Yeah. Oh, please do. Lots of people are watching me paint, so it's fine. Okay, so just go back and make sure you didn't miss any spots. I got a little pink in some areas, so I'm just going to touch it up. But yeah, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and clean off my flat brush. You should all have your cactuses filled in right now with that medium green, or I'm sorry, the lightest green that we're using. I'm going to clean off my brush. Okay, so I'm going to continue to use this. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to switch to my medium-sized flat brush, which is a 3/4 inch. And I didn't finish cleaning it earlier, so I got to do that real quick. So I'm using my medium-sized flat brush. Like I said, this is a 3/4 inch. And I'm going to put some, this is classic green, onto my palette paper. So right now, we are going to go and we are going to paint in these shadow areas, these sort of like really contrast, like cartoony looking shadow areas of the cactus. So I know we've talked about a little bit in our other Let's Paint lives where you have to choose where your light source is coming in. So for this painting, for me, my light source is coming in from the top left. So that means everything on the bottom right of my cactus is going to be dark, and everything on the top left is going to be light. So you can see here, all of my highlights happen on the top and top left of my cactus, and all of my low lights or my shadows happen on the bottom or the bottom right of my cactus. And that's how you kind of get realistic shading or shadowing and whatever it is you're painting. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab my medium size, like I said, my medium size flat brush, a 3/4 inch flat, and I've got my classic green. And I'm going to start by going in, I'm going to start painting this shape right here. So I'm going to start about here, and I'm going to just do sort of the right bottom side of this cactus. So if you want to kind of watch my shape real quick before you start painting, or just go for it, it's up to you. I'm kind of going to go down, and my paint underneath is a little bit wet, but that's okay, because they're both green, so I'm not going to make too much of a mess. So I'm going to kind of follow the shape of this, because that's how the cactus would kind of be. I imagine what the shape of the cactus would be. And that is where my shadow is going to be. I hope that makes sense. So I kind of followed the edge of that. I came in a little, and this is where I'm going to fill this in, and that's going to be the shadow of my center prickly pear. And I'm going to follow that edge. I'm going to go right up to the edge. I'm going to make sure I have it nice and filled in how I want it, nice and smooth. And like I said, my paint beneath this is a little bit wet still, but that's okay. I'm try to smooth it out as best I can. There. So now I'm going to do the same thing for this smaller guy here on the bottom right. I'm just going to kind of go and do the bottom right side of my cactus. So I'm just going to kind of do that area, and that's where my shadow is going to be. I'm going to fill that in. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here on my left little cactus. I'm going to start about here, and I'm going to follow whatever my shape is here. So I'm going to go kind of just mimicking that shape. Can you see how I'm doing that? I'm kind of following it so they're almost parallel. So it kind of just goes, woo. I hope that makes sense. It's like two roads next to each other.
Is that how it goes?
That's the sound you need to make when you're painting it.
You just made fun of me for making up words.
Kira makes up words and I make up sounds while I'm painting. It's fine. So I'm going to go right up to the edge again on the right side. Sometimes it's easier to paint when you make a sound that goes with certain motions. I really firmly believe that.
I mean, I feel like that's how people truly do paint now.
It's true.
Right? In my head, that's what I bet
Yes.
everybody out there
You
will
went,
be doing
"Woo!"
when they make the shadow.
Yep, I hope you do. Because it really helps. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill that in. Again, this paint's a little bit wet beneath it, but that's okay because they're both green, so they'll blend into each other. I just want to get my paint as smooth as I can. So I'm going to clean this brush off and I'm going to switch to my smaller flat brush for these smaller areas up here. The smaller the area, the smaller the brush. It's pretty much a good rule of thumb when you're doing any sort of painting. The smaller the detail. So I've got my 1/2 inch flat brush and I'm going to pick up my classic green again. My brush is kind of wet. I'm going to dry it off. Pick up my classic green and I'm going to go and I'm going to do this one. This one's a little different because it's kind of in a different, these guys are all going straight up and he's kind of going to the side. So his shadow might be a little different. You can see here in my original painting, you know, these are all right on the right side. It's kind of easy to tell. This one, you know, the darkness would kind of be below it and to the side. So we're going to keep that in mind when we're drawing our shadow. So I'm going to start up here. And again, I'm kind of going to follow the shape of my cactus. But instead of just going down to the base, I'm going to continue it this way. So that way it kind of gives it a little bit of dimension. It looks like this sort of part of the prickly pear is three-dimensional. I would just take it off by doing the shading this way. And I'm just going to fill that in. And you kind of want to use the brush to your advantage. So that's something to keep in mind when you're picking a shape of a brush, whether it be an angle brush or a flat brush or a round brush. Flat brush is great for this because I can use this. You see I'm kind of pressing down and using the chisel edge of this brush to my advantage. That's a really easy way to get a nice clean line. So that's where I'm going to leave that shadow. And I'm going to do this one here. And I'm keeping in mind again, this guy is almost perfectly horizontal. So we're just going to kind of put his shadow right at the bottom. So again, I'm going to use this horizontal brush to my advantage. I'm going to hold it up. I'm going to press down. And then if you press down, you get a thicker line. And then I pull up and it gets thinner. Did you guys see how I did that? I'll go over it again. So kind of start on your chisel point at the left side, press down, and then pull up. And that's how you can get that kind of swoosh sort of shape. Go ahead and clean this off. And then for the really small pieces of my cactus, I'm going to use my round brush. For this, I'm going to use my largest round brush, which is my number 10 round. So I'm going to put some of this classic green onto my brush. And so for this guy, keep in mind, you know, the light is coming in from up here, don't forget. And so the shadows are going to be here. So we're just kind of have our shadows coming up below him because the light is hitting him from the top left. Do you see that? How the light would just kind of hit there and the shadows would be coming up from below. And then the same thing for these. So I'm just the light's coming this way, so my shadow is gonna be here. You see that? Nice and loose. I'm not making these perfect, nice loose strokes. So the same thing here, this is just gonna be right on the bottom. Okay, so now I have all of my large shadows for my cactus. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna clean my brush.
Oh, so just checking in while everybody is catching up on their shadows, and we want to say hi to Sharon. She loves Plaid products, so we love to hear that. Sharon, what's your favorite Plaid product? I want to know.
Yeah.
Share with everybody. And then Marcia is going to paint this painting later. So Marcia, we want to see what you paint. Don't forget to post it.
Please.
Candy's watching. Hi, Candy. How are you? We'll see you next week. Kelly is watching. So hi, everybody.
Guys.
We love that you are all watching and tuning in,
Yeah.
either painting live or going to paint later with us on our Let's Paint Live. We're painting Sunset Cactus, which is the perfect end to summer, right? It's here. It is after Labor Day. It is September.
I know.
Still
Fall's
hot
coming.
here. We know a
It's
lot of
so
people.
hot.
I know. A lot of people are getting crazy weather, so our thoughts are with everybody.
Yep.
But we're so glad that if you're able to tune in now or you're tuning in after the live and are able to paint with us. So I hope everybody was able to catch up on their shadows.
Yep.
So we are probably about halfway done with our Sunset
I'd say
Cactus.
so, yeah.
Yeah, so I hope everyone's is looking good. Here's another quick shot of what we are painting, just so if you want to, here we are. This is what we are painting, our beautiful Sunset Cactus in just about an hour. So part of our larger Let's Paint program. So if you're enjoying this or want to learn more, go to plaidonline.com/letspaint because we have a whole free online education program. We've got Andy Jones, who teaches you everything from skill builders to your studio lessons. We have Donna Dewberry, the creator of Folk Art One Stroke, who's going to teach you 12 months of flowers, which are beautiful, and
So
her
beautiful.
stroke and brushwork is like no one else I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
We've got Jessie, all her Let's Paint Lives, and our guest artists. So check all that out because you could watch on demand and learn to paint.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll give you guys a kind of a quick recap, just in case you're catching up or just in case you're just joining us. So we started by drawing our cactus shape, and then we filled in the back with this beautiful texture using fire coral and wicker white. And then we filled in our cactus shape using the Hauser green light. And then we just sort of filled in our larger shadow areas with classic green. So now pretty much all we have to do for the rest of the painting is just kind of do the detail work, which is kind of the fun part. Okay, so now we've got all of our larger colors blocked in. We're gonna start doing all those really cute details. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to add some more of the classic green to my palette. That's the one I was just using to do my shadows. I just need a little bit more. And I'm going to grab my larger round brush. This is the number 10 round brush. And these folk art brushes are awesome. They come in so many shapes and sizes for anything that you're painting. I always use these folk art brushes. They're my favorite. So I'm going to go ahead and load my number 10 round brush with the classic green. And this is sort of a fun technique. We're just going to add some sort of squiggles. You can see the background and our cactus are kind of a similar tone. You know, they're obviously different colors, but it can kind of get lost in this background. So we're going to kind of make it pop by adding some cute outlines. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'll start on the bottom so we can kind of practice on this bottom right guy. So we're going to start by pressing really lightly so we get just the tip of our paintbrush, and we're going to press down to get thicker lines as we go. So if you want to kind of maybe practice on your palette, we're going to go thin lines and then press down and then thin lines. You see how that goes? Thin lines and press down. So really, really loose. It does not need to be perfect, but that's kind of the technique we're going to be using for making these outlines. So I'm going to kind of follow this squiggle sort of shape of my cactus, and I'm going to do a really thin line, and then I'm going to press down, and then I'm going to keep it thin, following the outline of my cactus. Does that make sense? And I'm going to continue doing this all around the edges of pretty much my whole cactus, whole prickly pear. So I'm starting the bottom down here. I'm going to go really thin lines by putting a really loose, a really soft pressure, I should say, on my canvas, not a lot of pressure at all, and kind of go press down a little, and you see how that creates sort of an irregular line. It gets thin, thick, thin, thick. That's just all with the pressure of my brush. So we're going really loose, kind of squiggly. I like how it looks when it goes like that. It gives it a little bit of interest. Really thin, and then press down here, straight into the shadow. And we don't need to paint it on that side, of course, because it's already the same color, so you wouldn't see it anyway. You see that outline? I'm going to load my brush again, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing up here on the top. Really light pressure, press down, light pressure, just really irregular. It adds some cute interest, makes it sort of cartoon looking, sort of animated looking. Kind of like that look. Just going around all of the outlines, and see how it kind of makes those pop. You can see that from this side to this side already. You can see how this kind of, it's just easier to see. I think it looks better this way. And these still kind of fade into the background because we haven't done the outlines yet. So I'm going to do really light pressure, press down, light, And again, you can't mess this up. This is just really loose brushwork. This is a really good way to practice your brushwork too, your stroke work, I should say. Go up here and do really light. See, just really loose. You don't need to be perfect. You kind of do a line over there. I'll finish my line down here too, finish that. And then last but not least, I'm gonna do this guy here. And this is really quick. I almost feel like for this, the quicker the better, because it gives you less time to think about it, to overthink it. You want these lines to be really loose and organic. Adding pressure and taking it away to give it sort of different widths. Okay. So that is the outline using the classic green and our number 10 round brush. We just sort of outlined our cactus to make it pop. And we're going to continue by adding some more outlines. So the more details, I feel like, the better paintings often look. We don't want to overwork it, of course, but we do like to add lots of detail. So I'm going to keep this same brush. I cleaned it, and I'm going to grab Thicket, which is one of my favorite colors. It's a really dark green. This is the darkest of our greens that we have in our palette tonight. So I'm going to apply a little bit of Thicket to my palette. This is a really beautiful, dark, rich green. It's great for like trees or landscapes that you're doing. I love this color. I'm going to go ahead and load my brush, and we're going to do sort of the same thing that we just did with the classic green, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some even darker shadows. So we're going to do the same thing we just did. I've got a good bit of paint on my brush, but not a ton. And we're going to do the same thing here. I'll show you what it looks like.
I got it. You just lost your microphone. We got you.
Thanks, Kira.
Yeah.
Okay, microphone down.
Yep, we got it.
We're good. Thanks, Kira.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start by doing this dark shadow here. We're keeping the same technique that we just did, outlining our cactus, but we're going to go on the bottom right. So we're going to remember where our shadows are. Remember these big areas that we blocked in, and we're going to keep to those areas. So we're going to stick to the right here, and then the bottom right here where our shadows are. I'm going to do the same thing, kind of thick and then thin, and then here you can see thin, thick, thin, using the same technique that we just did around the whole painting, around the whole cactus. So I'm going to start here. So I'm just going to go on this side. I'm going to start thick by applying lots of pressure and then pull up to make it thinner as I go up. So you can see thick and then thin. You see how simple that is? Now I'm going to do the same thing going up the side right here. I'm going to start really sort of thin by applying not much pressure, and then thick, and then thin again. Now, I kind of didn't put enough paint on there, so I'm going to go back over it and start thin to kind of fill that in. There we go. And thick. See how nice that shadow is? And it's just by doing one stroke with our brush, just by applying different pressures. So I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to go thin, thick, and then thin again. We're just following the shape, the natural shape of our cactus that we've drawn. I'm going to go on the bottom here below this shadow. Just kind of, he's small, so we just kind of do a couple little lines there to make sure he's got the same value as everybody else. And do the same thing up here, following that guy. Just really loose, really quick. Definitely don't overthink it. We want this to be just using our quick line work. So I'm going to do just a little line under there. And then here again, I'm going to do, light pressure, heavy pressure, light pressure to create that line. Light, heavy, light. And then I'm going to do the same thing, last but not least, on this left cactus. Just going to go light pressure, heavy pressure, light pressure, just following the shape of the cactus. See how easy that is? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean off that brush. Just really simple brush strokes can add so much character and so much value to a painting. It doesn't all need to be shading and blending, and it doesn't take a whole lot of skill to do this either. It's really great for beginners too. So now that we have done our darker shadow, we're going to do a little bit of mixing, nothing crazy. So I'm going to take my smaller of the round brushes. This is my number 2 round brush. And I'm going to pick up some white paint. I've got my Wicker white. Pick up a little bit there. Can you guys see my palette? Okay, good. And then I'm going to pick up some of my Hauser green light, and I'm going to mix those to make an even lighter green. I'm going to do a little more because I might need a little more paint than that. And if your paint's a little dry in your palette, feel free to just wet your brush, and that'll kind of help to make it wet again so you can work with it more easily. The paint's been sitting out here for a while, so we're going to mix those and get a really nice, very pale green. Mix them until they're totally combined. And now that I've mixed with my brush, I've got a ton on there, so I'm going to wipe most of that off. So I don't want all that paint on my brush while I'm trying to paint. So we're going to do something really similar to what we just did with these dark shadows. And we're going to go on the top left side where our light source is, and we're going to create some highlights, doing pretty much the same technique. So now we're all pros at it. We've been doing it for a while now. So I'm going to start down here. I'm going to go light pressure, heavy pressure, light pressure, all up top left. And I don't want to go over that line because I like that line there. So I'm going to kind of just go right beneath it. So light, heavy, light. See, we've got a little highlight right there. Same as up here. I'm going to go just opposite of where my shadow is. Light, heavy, light. Just creating some really loose highlights. I'm going to go make my highlight a little bigger for this guy. So I'm going to start down here and go light, heavy, light again. And I kind of lost paint there at the end. So I'm just going to go back and finish that line. Again on this one, we're going light, heavy, light. So thin, thick, thin. That's where our strokes are looking. Same up here, just a little highlight at the top. And then here as well. Then last but not least, this side. So it's the same technique we've been using. Light pressure, heavy pressure, light pressure to create that line. And it's the same technique we used sort of to practice for our outline, and then we also use it for our shadows. So I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush off. Oops, I forgot one. I forgot the very top little guy up here. So I'll just do a quick little one up there. There we go. Go ahead and clean my brush. And then we're going to use, right now we're going to use some Marina Mist. And we're pretty much going to do the same thing we just did. A great way to, make paintings look kind of harder than they are is to just add lots of layers to them. And so we're going to do the same thing we just did on top of the green with some blue. And this is going to just make it look like, instead of using white, which is kind of stark against this, it's going to make it look almost like the cactus is shiny, like it's got a lot of dimension. So I'm going to do the same thing right on that line. You see? And that just makes that line pop even more. It makes it look like it's got like a gleam to it. So light, heavy, light, right next to that light green line that we just did. And that just gives it even more dimension. Just really quick. Right against your light, heavy, light. And see how it kind of looks like it's shiny, like maybe the light is hitting it. And it's got almost a gleam to it. I think that looks kind of cool. That kind of makes the cactus look bubbly or something. It's kind of fun. Okay. So that should be pretty quick. Make sure you don't spend too much time on it because it's really easy to overthink those little lines like that. But we don't want to do that. We just want to keep the brush strokes sort of as they are. So I'm going to clean my brush off. And next, I'm going to actually use the same brush. So we're still using our number 2 round brush. And we're going to do a little bit more mixing. We are going to pick up some of our Hauser green light and a little bit of our fire coral. And that might sound strange to you, but it's because we're going to make ourselves a little brown here. I didn't tell you guys to buy any brown paint because we just need the tiniest little bit. So I figured we could just mix it using the colors. And the reason these make a really nice brown is because they're kind of opposite. Green and pink are sort of opposite from each other on the color wheel, like green and red are, specifically, but pink is a version of red. And so when you mix them together, you get a brown. It's kind of just a little bit of color theory there for you.
I love that. Like I said, you're always learning something. And can everybody see that brown? So is it about equal parts of the Hauser green and the fire coral?
Yep. If you feel like your brown's looking a little pinky, then add some more green. If you feel like it's looking a little too green, add more pink.
And where is the brown going on the canvas so we can maybe show them close up so they know the kind of the tone?
Yeah, it's going to just be the base of these spines or these
spikes,
I
quills.
guess, quills, whatever you want to call them.
Well, we are cactus experts, cacti experts
I
tonight.
know. We can't get any of it right.
Yep, so it's going to be the base of the little spikes on the cactus.
Yep, so just going to give it a little more dimension.
Yep, so we mix, everyone's laughing, so we're mixing the Hauser,
thorns.
the thorns.
There you go.
Thorns?
No,
No, that's a
not
rose.
thorns. Okay, you're right, okay. We're going to stick with spikes.
Yes.
Okay, so I've got my paint mixed. So you have this nice light brown here. Again, we used our Hauser green light and our fire coral, about equal parts, to get this nice light brown. I mixed it with my number 2 round brush, and then I wipe most of the paint off, just because I don't want all that paint on there for when I'm painting, just like last time. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit of this, and then I'm if you've ever stenciled before, this is gonna be kind of a similar technique. I'm going to dab some of my paint off, just straight up and down. I'm going to dab it onto the paper towel.
They're called spines.
Spines, okay, good. So now to make the base of our spines, I'm going to dab most of this brown paint off, still using my number 2 round. And so now we're going to try to think about it, where we want our spines to be on the cactus. So we want them to be pretty evenly spaced, but we don't want them to be in like a grid pattern, because that's just not how it would be in nature. So just, we're going to put them every once in a while. Again, it's kind of up to you. You can have lots of spines. You can have a few spines. But, just make sure that it's kind of random. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom. I've got just a little bit of paint on. I dab some of it off. And I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3. And you see how it creates sort of just like a little bunch of brown texture right there? That's going to be the base of our spines. And it's not super cute right now, but trust me, when we use our small brush and we start painting the actual sharp part of the spines, it's going to be cuter. So I'm just going to do a few little ones down here. I don't want a ton. I am going to make sure I put some at the edge though, because if you look at a cactus, there would definitely be spikes on the edge, so I don't want to forget about that. Maybe one more. And just 3 little dots. And I don't want a ton of paint on my brush, because I don't want it to be a really, brown glob. I just want it to be a little light texture of brown paint. So I'm just kind of going where I think that a spine would look good. Is that what you just said, spine, right?
Yeah, if you learn nothing else about painting, you've learned
the anatomy of a cactus.
The spikes on the cacti are called spines.
There you go. Learn something new every paint night.
Thank you, Google.
Thank you, Google, exactly. Usually I Google it before. I guess I was kind of slacking this time. I did look up that it was called a prickly pear for you. Okay, so again, we're just kind of doing them randomly. We want them to be pretty randomly spaced. We're doing little 1, 2, 3 little dabs of our brown paint there to make some texture beneath where our spines are going to be. We're using it almost like I said, almost like a stencil brush. If you're familiar with a stencil brush, oopsie, that was too much. I had too much paint on my brush. If you're familiar with stenciling, then it's kind of a similar technique to stenciling, but we're just using it with a round brush right now. Just doing it where I want my spines to be. And again, I'm not forgetting the very edges, because that'll be cute to put little spines coming out that way onto our background. I'll do a couple of little guys up here too. I got one there. So we're just adding this little texture to just add a little more character once we go ahead and add our spines in a second, just in a random sort of pattern. We don't want it in a grid, but we do want them to be fairly evenly spaced, because I feel like that's how they look on cacti.
Hi to Debbie, hi to Sandy.
Hey,
they are
Debbie.
tuned in and watching us.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Can't wait to see your paintings.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in, you can paint along with us later when you have some time.
Yep.
You can watch the video after the live stream on Facebook on demand, or you can watch any of this and any of our other Paint Night lives on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely. So now you can if you want to kind of hold your painting out in front of you even to get to see if you've got any gaps where you want to put some spines in a minute. Now's the time to do it, so you can go ahead and add that texture. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wash my brush out in my water basin. Dry it off. And then I'm going to pick up some Marina Mist, which is our light blue color, which is really pretty. It really looks just how it sounds. I think that's a perfect name for it. It's kind of a misty color. And so if you can see what I'm kind of doing here, is it showing up on the camera? Yeah. So I'm picking up some, and then I'm kind of doing a twirling motion, and that gives me a nice sharp point to my round brush. So kind of just like twirl it sideways. I'm holding it sort of parallel to my palette, and I gave it a little twirl, and that's a really kind of cheat to get a really sharp point on your brush. So we're going to use the tip of this brush to make those little spines. So we'll start down here. This is kind of our practice guy. So I'm going to start at the base, so wherever my little textures that I just made, and I'm going to do 1 or 2 little quick lines. We're going to do them quick so that they are really sharp at the end. So see how I did that? Really quick, really small little lines, and it looks like little spines. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this for all of our little textured areas that we have. So this one's going to kind of go out. You can make them go up, you can make them go down. They kind of be all over.
Yeah, we're getting a good close-up also.
Oh, good. See how fast I'm going?
They're very wispy.
Very wispy, very loose. You can do 1 or 2 in each one. Maybe, go between 1 or 2 so it's a little more random. But we want to go very quick so they look sharp. Adding some paint as you need and then rolling your brush and make sure you have that nice point, because you want them to, like I said, we want them to look like they're sharp little spikes. I'm going to make them kind of go out so you can see them against the pink background. Very quick, very short little brush strokes. Don't they kind of look like sharp little spikes? And I kind of like this blue against it too. I thought about, using white for these little details, but I just thought the blue was kind of a nice alternative. It made it a little more interesting, in my opinion.
I think that's really fun too about our paint night lives, especially that we are trying different colors and maybe something you might not be comfortable with or a color combo.
Yeah.
That you're able to try it, and we're showing you exactly how to put that together.
Definitely, because these paintings are just so fun, and we're not painting from life. We're not generally trying to make them look super realistic for paint night sometimes, but not always. It's kind of a good time to experiment with color.
Right. Typically, I would not say, oh, I'm painting a cactus, I need blue, but it totally works.
Right.
And that color's really pretty, especially with the coral.
Yeah, it pops off against the coral really beautifully. So it's fun, to get to choose from all of the folk art colors. You kind of just pick whatever colors you want. Because there's so many, like we said before, there's so many colors to choose from.
And we're doing the hard part. Sometimes picking the colors is the hard part.
Like I said, yeah, I could stand in the paint aisle for 20 minutes picking out colors. There's just so many beautiful ones to choose from. So we're just, like I said, we're going where we put that little brown textured spots. We're getting a really pointed small brush, and we're making the little spines that would come out of them. Really short, wispy motions so that they look sharp, like they could prick you. Really loose, really quick motions. It's better, this is another stroke where it's kind of better if you don't focus too much on it. Just kind of let your brush do all the work.
Kind of also another, the fact that another great tip or thing about the brush is that you pick specific brushes that will help you. They're not working against you.
Right,
so
exactly.
Like you said, you're letting it do it for you. So the reason you use a round brush or a flat brush, like really, we've told people before that you really practice these paintings before we go live and you teach them.
Yeah, absolutely. We always practice. So of course I paint the painting. We have it ready to reveal before the previous paint night. But yeah, we do a practice here just to make sure that we're teaching it the best way we can for you guys at home.
Yeah.
Make sure it's nice and clear for you guys.
So you have the right tools, whether it's a round brush, flat brush.
Yep.
And letting people know how to use, because sometimes there's so many brushes, overwhelming. So it's like, use this round brush and it'll do it for you. So I love that. That's a great tip.
Yeah. And a lot of people are confused about different ways to use brushes. Like, why do we have all these different shaped brushes? So it's kind of a quick, fun, easy way to learn about those.
Yep. It's a great way to, if you click the link below, again, you can get all the product when we do these paint nights. So you're getting to try so many different products, so many different brushes, different paint colors. Again, we mentioned our whole Let's Paint program. So Andy Jones teaches you skill builders. So he even breaks it down further to brush strokes and brushes.
How to load your brush, how to base coat. Yeah, really valuable information from Andy.
Yep, so this is really fun and we learned something, but if you want to even go deeper, check out our Let's Paint site because you're going to get to learn like down in the nitty gritty, all your paint strokes, your brushes, like you said.
And Andy's an awesome teacher, so make sure you check that out.
Yeah, so it's just a great way to round out the whole program.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're just going to finish up these spines that we're painting, making sure we have a nice sharp tip on our round brush, still using this number 2 round. Just really quick, sharp little wisps. So I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss any of my little textures, my little brown textured areas. I think I got them all. I think
with your spines.
With my spines on them. I think I got them all. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean my brush off. And so I think we're on to the last step here. Last but not least, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add these blooms, these purple flower blossoms to the top of our prickly pear. So again, I chose purple. If you want to choose a different color or if you even did a different background and you want to choose a color that matches, feel free to do that. But I'm going to be using purple right now, so I'm going to add some folk art acrylic eggplant to my palette. Kind of running out of room down here. I'm a messy palette person. And I'm going to grab my larger round brush. So this is the number 10 round. And we're going to continue using the skills that we've learned tonight, applying different pressures to your paintbrush. We're going to continue that with our flowers tonight. So I'm going to put a flower right here. I'm going to start by, I'm going to apply pressure and then I'm going to pull up to make a flower petal. So watch. Apply pressure, pull up. Oh, I kind of messed that one up. Apply pressure, pull up. And I'm going to do that in a semicircle, sort of, to make this flower blossom. Press and then pull up. And that's a really simple way to make flower petals. And I'm going to add another one up top here. So I'm going to press and pull up. Press, pull up. So simple to make these little flowers. Press, pull up.
Get the paint out of your way here.
No, thanks. Press, pull up. And then I'm going to add another teeny one up there. Press, pull up. You could even use your smaller brush if you wanted to, but press, pull up. And then last but not least, I'm going to put another flower blossom right here. Pressure, pulling up. Really, really simple way to make some flowers on top of your prickly pear. All right. So last but not least, after you've painted your flower blossoms, you want to make sure to sign your canvas, and then it's complete.
Yeah, so Jessie, thank you so much. I've got lots of paintings here. We just taught you Sunset Cactus. So thanks everybody for joining us. If you were able to paint along or check out our live on demand after and paint your Sunset Cactus and all our Let's Paint Live paintings. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
This was awesome.
So
this
fun.
is a way to end summer and we're getting into fall next. And we have a very special treat, a very special guest artist next month for our Let's Paint Live, which is October 3rd at 7:30 p.m. We are going to be here with Priscilla Hauser, who is a legend in decorative painting, and she's going to be teaching Fall Chrysanthemum. So if you can see this beautiful painting. So Priscilla painted this for us, and she will be here guest hosting on October 3rd, so mark your calendars. We can't wait to have everybody join us. We'll be here with her. Jessie will be in the audience. We'll all be here.
Not miss a free class from Priscilla any day.
Yeah, I mean, it again, a legend. So right after this, we will post the event live, and you'll be able to see the supply list so you can get prepared for October 3rd. We'll be painting Fall Chrysanthemum. And so thank you everybody for joining us. Don't forget to check out plaidonline.com/letspaint, and happy crafting.
Bye guys.
Bye guys.